My name is Mallory Smith. I'm a PhD candidate in the Department of English with a focus in creative writing. Margaret Cavendish is the epitome of English eccentricity. And so that was a huge inspiration in getting through this degree and being a little strange and writing a whole poetry collection about science in the 17th century. We do talk a lot about taking up space as women this day and age, and Margaret Cavendish is a really interesting example of a human being to look at, because not only was she not circulating manuscripts, she was circulating incredibly polished works in folio size, which was typically reserved for the Bible and Shakespeare in her time. And then she would commission portraits for the front pieces. And this was not, she was publishing anonymously or as a, quote, a lady, as many did right through the 19th century. Instead, it was her name, and there were letters of recommendation for the collection written by her friends and her husband, and then she would ship them out to the institutions she wanted to see them in. The poem in the video that Andrea's animated is called Experiment 40 in the Proof of Air, or the Lark's Lament. The Lark's Lament is spoken on both the out-breath and the in-breath without pauses in between. This poem, though, I felt like it was a right technique that came along with the right research at the right time. I'd been working on speaking while breathing in, and then I found this information about how they, through the experimental model, prove that air exists, and I was horrified. And the sounds were a little unusual, a little strangulated, and just made sense. Part of the current political climate inspired me to be an uninterruptible woman. That's part of the background to it. But also it was to use this voice, which sounds like it's being strangled, and tell the story of larks. And I think that's incredibly important, because often animals have been in poetry metaphors. There's a bird flying, oh, you're experiencing longing. This is instead about the animal itself. It's pretty remarkable that Cavendish was vocally concerned about experiments and what the cost was. And we're still questioning animals being given diseases to have human drugs tested on them to this day.
Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Shrieks override the singing urge. No reverberating air rings inside this glass globe. I'm gutted for breath, for curiosity, for pleasure of progress, for mere science without philosophy. To see my life flapping, frenzied, fleeting, drawn out by the air pump. The magnified eyes of observers mark the dwindling oxygen, orchestrated by Boyle and Hooke's opera in reverse, feat of choking, proving air's realness through rare removal. The pump vacuums out life-giving gases, followed by ether's divine draft direction. The noble zephyr feeds the spark of life, but not here, faking null. Quiet tyrants scratch notes with their quills, watching transparency, ignoring feathers scraping sides. Claws scratch chamber, invisible ventilation, can't circulate. Who conceived this scholar's snuff show? Release my voice. I am bound. Tiny lives, made to live. Just knowledges, fodder feast. Just to feed what it means to breathe in.